Africa cannot sit just as a quiet victim with cup in hand, begging these nations to change their minds. Africa has to take its destiny into its own hands. Thank you very much. The first step towards healing is truth. The truth about the story of the transatlantic slave trade must be told. And this resolution at the United Nations is the first step. And we expect that with the consultations we've done and the endorsement of the AU, that finally the truth about the transatlantic slave trade being the gravest injustice and crime against humanity would be acknowledged. After that step, other issues will follow. Indeed, the issue of reparations and restitutive justice goes beyond, and that is in answer to the first question, just monetary compensation. It's about setting the historical record straight. It's about returning stolen artifacts from Africa. It's about the pillaging that took place in the period of the slave trade. Issues about quantum are still being researched, and I don't think that a lump sum of money is going to be taken and distributed to countries. We'll get to that point and we'll discuss that when the time comes. But for now, our aim is to put the resolution on the floor, let the world acknowledge that this happened and that there's been, in recent memory or in world history, no more grave injustice against humanity than the slave trade. 12 million people were transported, forcibly taken and transported across the Atlantic. The number of people who died in the mid-sea, the Middle Passage, is estimated at about 2 million people, either people who jumped off ships, they prefer to die than to go and live in slavery, or people who were too ill or were sick and were tossed overboard to be eaten by sharks and all that. And so that historical record must be set straight. And like I said, it's a whole movement, it's a whole story. And once we table this, we will move to the next stage of it. And so it's not about quantum for now, but there are people who have done research on what the value of the human displacement was. There are people who have done that research, but our resolution has nothing to do with quantum for now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We have engaged CARICOM effectively, and I believe that I can say with confidence that today Africa and CARICOM are speaking with one voice. Indeed, the CARICOM, 50th CARICOM Summit, as I said in my statement, is about to take place before the end of this month. And this issue of reparations and restitutive justice is going to be something on the agenda of that CARICOM meeting. But I can tell you that we've held adequate consultations with the leaders of the CARICOM nations, with the institutions in the CARICOM nations, and we're speaking with one voice on this matter.
Okay, can our colleague, can you come again with your last question? Yes, please. Yeah. Yes.
At Accra Reset at this reckoning event, you said that Africa has reached a turning point that we cannot afford to ignore. Why you said that, and what is expected from African nations, including the AU?
Thank you very much. I think you're referring to the issue of the Health Sovereignty Conference we held in Accra, which gave birth to the whole movement of Accra Reset. It is widely acknowledged that the world is at an inflection point. The multilateral system that was agreed post-Second World War, that led to the emergence of the United Nations, is currently threatened. I wouldn't say it's broken down completely, but nations are acting unilaterally. Nations are acting in their own national interest. Humanitarian assistance is dwindling. Overseas development assistance to not only Africa but to the global south is dwindling because nations believe that they must invest those resources to the benefit of their own people. Africa cannot sit just as a quiet victim with cup in hand, begging these nations to change their minds. Africa has to take its destiny into its own hands. And that was the reason for the Accra Reset. It focused on health sovereignty because health is at the core of everything we do. And so if you remember in COVID-19, Africa was the last to be thought about when a vaccine was found. And Africa was the last to begin to receive vaccines. That shows you our place if we don't take our destiny into our own hands. And so it was first about how we could structure things so that Africa could begin to speak with one voice, prioritize and act collectively in the interest of our people in terms of healthcare. But the Accra Reset goes beyond just healthcare. It goes into other areas, talks about the global economic order, the breaking down of the global economic order, what new system will replace it, and what will Africa's role be in that new system. It talks about value addition to areas in which we have a comparative advantage, our mineral ores, our critical minerals, rare earths, and all that. Bringing value addition home so that we can create opportunities for our young people to be able to stay at home and work and not risk their lives crossing the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea to go look for opportunities in Europe. That is the conversation we're having, and I'm very happy to announce to you that it's beginning to develop a lot of traction. Many other African countries are coming on board, not only African countries, but even the global south. Indonesia, Singapore, and all of them have bought into the idea of the Accra Reset. We want the global south to be positioned at the table when a new global order is being rolled out.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Your Excellency, the President. Our briefing has come to an end. Excellency, do you have a minute to take an extra question?
Okay.
One more question. Yeah. All right, please go ahead.
I'm very gender sensitive, so because it's a woman, I would allow it.
I'm Angela Harding. I'm a lawyer from Sierra Leone. My question is, does the resolutions anticipate litigation in international courts or regional courts as part of its implementations?
Litigation. Does it anticipate litigation in international courts?
Well, I think that we want to forge a broad consensus behind the idea of reparations and restitutive justice. But we don't rule out anything. But I don't think that that is the way to go at this stage. For now, I believe that we can forge a broad consensus. Even the countries that were involved in slavery acknowledge that it was a crime against humanity. A lot of them acknowledge the misery it caused to Africa. A lot of them acknowledge, the pain it caused to victims of slavery. We need to, as a world, accept that history and have it recorded on the biggest platform that the world has, which is the UN General Assembly, to accept that this is our description of slavery.